97 years. 97 years since the very first Monaco Grand Prix, won by William Grover Williams on the streets of Monte Carlo. And in all that time, nothing has come close to replacing it. Not a single race on the calendar. This place is the jewel in Formula One's crown. Always has been, always will be. Every driver wants to win here, not just because of what it means for their career, but because of what it means, full stop. The greatest drivers in Formula One history have raced on these streets, and they've met with triumph and disaster in equal measure. That's Monaco. That's exactly what makes it what it is. The famous main straight sets up one of the most chaotic moments in any race weekend. Down into Sainte Devote, that fast right-hander at the bottom of the hill, there have been incidents that have changed races entirely before they'd barely begun. Coulthard tangling with the Ferraris in 1995. Jim Clark's Lotus jamming in first gear from pole position in 1966. And by the time he reached Sainte Devote, the whole field had disappeared into the distance without him. Past and future champions have been caught out here too. Nelson Piquet hit the wall hard in 1985, battling Riccardo Patrese, and 30 years later, a young Max Verstappen had a carbon copy of that very same accident. Same corner, same wall, different era. Monaco doesn't care who you are, but the difficult corners, the ones where there's genuinely no margin at all, those are the ones that separate the kings of Monaco from everyone else. In 1984, in treacherous wet conditions, a rookie called Senna made a breathtaking pass on Niki Lauda's McLaren for second place. In a Tollman, he was catching race leader Alain Prost at over 4 seconds a lap, and a victory that would have announced him to the world was on the cards until the red flag came out and stopped the race early. In the dry, it's no different. To get the absolute maximum out of Monaco, you have to be right on the limit at every single corner, every single lap. Watch an onboard lap with Senna and you'll see what commitment truly looks like. Every inch of tarmac used, every apex clipped to the millimetre, the car visibly light over the crest exiting Casino Square. From outside the car, it's breathtaking, watching F1 legends exit here full of oversteer, before heading down to Mirabeau. Spectacular doesn't quite cover it. Passing at Monaco is famously difficult, and Mirabeau is not your typical overtaking spot. But Stefan Beloff pulled it off in 1984, using every inch of track and every curb available to pass René Arnoux. The audacity of it. And in the modern era, Daniel Ricciardo showed he had those same elbows-out instincts, finding a way past Kimi Räikkönen here when nobody expected. But when a move doesn't come off, it's your day done. So many drivers have found that Mirabeau wall over the past 90-odd years. Patrick Tambay's moment, there is one that sticks with you. The unforgiving truth of Monaco. The risk never goes away. With the harbour on one side, and the streets of the Principality climbing up into the hills on the other. A racing circuit right in the middle of all of it. There is genuinely nowhere else like this on Earth. You could be watching from a yacht. You could be watching from a terrace above the track. You could be standing 2 feet from the barriers as cars go past at 180 miles an hour. And it all feels completely, almost surreally, real. But if one corner truly encapsulates what Monaco is all about, it has to be the hairpin. Full lock. The tightest corner in all of Formula One. Almost unchanged in nearly 100 years. And it's always given the nimble car a chance against the more powerful one. Stirling Moss proved that in 1961, guiding his Lotus past the Ferraris and showing that handling beats horsepower around here every single time. Riccardo Patrese famously spun into the hairpin in 1982 and lost the lead of the race, only to be handed it right back as everyone in front of him hit trouble. Monaco giving and taking in the same lap. It's so tight that passing without making contact with another car or the wall is genuinely difficult. A clean pass needs the full cooperation of the driver ahead, something that wasn't on offer in 1989 between De Cesaris and Piquet, and in 2000 between Della Rosa and Barrichello, where a traffic jam formed behind them until the track could be cleared. A traffic jam during a Formula One race. only in Monaco. From the hairpin, the cars make their way back down to the water's edge. And this stretch of circuit has delivered some of the most dramatic moments in the race's long history. Two champions crashed out within meters of each other in different years. Right here. Michael Schumacher slid off before the underpass in the wet in 1996, handing Olivier Panis one of the most unlikely victories the sport has ever seen, winning from 14th on the grid with only 3 cars classified at the finish. And 8 years before that, Ayrton Senna had dominated the race, completely dominated it. Then on lap 67 at Portier, a rare inexplicable mistake. He was gone, the lead gone, the win gone. He walked back to his apartment in Monaco alone and sat in silence for hours. His teammate Prost inherited the victory. For Senna, it was the kind of moment that haunted him and motivated him for the rest of his career. And in 2016, Lewis Hamilton lost a victory that looked absolutely certain, not through a mistake on track, but through a pit stop miscalculation that left Daniel Ricciardo waiting his pit box for 20 excruciating seconds while his tyres weren't ready. Hamilton inherited the lead. Ricciardo, who had been on another level all weekend, was left with nothing. He sat on the pit wall after the race and didn't speak. Monaco had taken another one, but it's also a place where the opportunistic driver can catch another one napping. Hülkenberg did exactly that in 2015. A stunning, brave, committed move that you'd normally only see on a conventional circuit. Monaco had delivered again, and now we come to something truly unique, the tunnel. Completely unique to Monaco. You go from full Mediterranean sunshine into darkness at over 200 miles an hour. Nothing prepares you for it the first time you watch it from inside the car. In 2004, during a safety car period, not even proper racing, Michael Schumacher and Juan Pablo Montoya collided inside the tunnel. The first pictures of the Ferrari emerging with its front wheel torn off were absolutely dumbfounding. This is Michael Schumacher, the most dominant driver of his generation, wiped out in the tunnel while they were following a safety car. This is Monaco. The exit of the tunnel sees the cars carrying enormous speed into a braking zone with a bump in the road that has caught out drivers time and time again. Button, Alonso, Surtees, the list goes on. Speed and concrete and no runoff, the usual Monaco formula. The chicane that follows offers one of the rare genuine overtaking opportunities on the whole circuit. And the brave have taken it. Mansell surprised his rivals here with a fantastic move in 1991. And Giancarlo Fisichella passed a world champion here in 2006. These moments are rare, which is exactly why they get remembered. Then, right on the harbour, the back section with the walls and the fences, the yachts just meters away where once there were only hay bales. In 1950, actual sea waves crashed over onto the track, causing mayhem. Takuma Sato's Honda was blinded by smoke and flipped over in 2004, bringing out the red flag. Alberto Ascari actually landed in the harbour in 1955. His car, in the water, Monaco in a nutshell, and Michael Schumacher's infamous qualifying moment at Rascasse in 2006, bringing his car to a stop right at the exit of the corner to block his rivals from setting a lap time, is one of the most debated and controversial moments in Monaco's entire history. It proved difficult to pass there on track. He made it impossible in qualifying. Into the final corner, the scene of Jenson Button's chaotic celebrations in 2009, when he accidentally stopped in the pit lane and had to sprint the sprint of the start-finish straight to reach the podium. Monaco delivering its theatre right to the very last moment. And in 1992, one of the most intense final laps this circuit has ever witnessed. Nigel Mansell, on fresh tyres, hunted Senna lap after lap after lap, right on his rear wing through the final corner. Senna holding him off purely on instinct and bravery and the kind of racecraft that nobody else had. Mansell never got past, Senna won. It remains one of the most remarkable pieces of driving in the sport's history. The modern era has only added to Monaco's legend. In 2018, Ricciardo suffered an MGUK failure mid-race. losing a huge chunk of his power and working with only 6 gears for most of the afternoon. Most drivers would have lost that race. He didn't. He nursed that broken car to the finish and won. Then he walked to the edge of the paddock swimming pool and executed a swallow dive for the ages. One of the most joyful images Formula One has produced in a very long time. In 2019, Hamilton was under enormous pressure from Max Verstappen in the closing laps, similar to Mansell hunting Senna all those years before. Hamilton's tyres were done, Verstappen was all over him. But Hamilton held the line, managed the gap, controlled the situation and took the victory. Monaco rewarding the most experienced mind on the grid, 2022, Charles Leclerc. Monaco born, Monaco raised, he had the race in the palm of his hand. Ferrari somehow turned it into heartbreak again, making a strategic call that left him stranded on worn tyres as Sergio Perez took victory. Leclerc's radio message after, no words, said absolutely everything. And then 2024 finally, Leclerc, Monaco, the race he was born to win in every sense. He converted pole position into victory on the streets where he grew up, ending what the entire paddock had been calling his Monaco curse. The emotion on his face on that podium was real. This is what Monaco does to people. And most recently in 2025, Lando Norris, his first ever Monaco Grand Prix victory, fending off Leclerc under intense pressure all race long and taking the win with brilliance and composure. The champagne spike on the podium was everything. Monaco handing out its greatest gift to yet another generation of drivers. Nearly 100 years since the first Monaco Grand Prix, and this place remains completely, irreplaceably itself. For every driver who lines up on that grid, the challenge isn't just to beat the cars around them. It's to beat the circuit, to beat the walls, to beat the history and the ghosts of every great driver who has ever raced here. Nowhere are the risks greater. Nowhere is the reward sweeter. Monaco isn't just a race. It never has been. It's the ultimate test of what a Formula One driver truly is and what they're made of when everything is on the line and the margin for error is nothing. The world's most famous race, and it's never ever going to give that title up. If you want more deep dives like this into the circuits, the drivers and the history that makes Formula One what it is, subscribe to Fast Throttle F1. We'll see you in the next one.